Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Maria. I'm excited to pull cards today because I feel like the energy is very straightforward, but physically isn't grounded yet. And what I mean by that is I think there's this energy of our inner masculine energy, the masculine collective energy, if you will, really finding trust in discernment. And why I feel like this is coming up is because one, the people that I seem to attract to my mentorship are in a place where they really deeply trust the inner feminine's vision and energy. But what seems to be happening is the level of trust that the inner masculine has of itself to discern and act when it needs to act versus not act when it doesn't need to overgive or doesn't need to overproduce or doesn't, this element of like the masculine being able to trust itself, and in doing that also trusting the feminine holding her vision, because if the feminine doesn't hold the vision, if the feminine disconnects from that insight or that knowing or that feeling, then it makes it really difficult for our inner masculine to actually be able to discern the actions that we take or the things that we're creating or the things that we're doing. Because if our inner masculine can't come back to the feminine to be able to gain clarity or insight into what the vision or what the goal is, then he's kind of leading us blindly, if that makes sense. So the energy of the inner masculine, one, trusting the feminine's vision and insight and energy and feeling, and then two, the masculine being able to then be able to move forward in life, discerning timing and what the action is going to be. The best example I have for this energy is like, for at least for myself, I'm getting a lot of practice in terms of discerning where to invest my energy. So, and when. So noting that my inner masculine is just as connected to energy and source and God and universe as much as the feminine, but in a different way. And so I don't need to always be taking action on those things. It's also such a privilege for my inner masculine to know when to let those seeds grow and pull back that energy and become the magnetized version of myself to see how it all unfolds and to witness the creation of it all. And that's also part of the discernment. The other practice in that is that the inner masculine tends to be the hardest on itself, and why we have so much self-doubt or self-sabotage is a lot to do with the inner masculine's inability to trust if the action is actually going to produce the outcome that our feminine says that it will. And it becomes really chaotic and it becomes very separated energetically because the feminine doesn't know how to hold a vision that the masculine also doesn't believe in. So the ability for the masculine to trust itself is one thing, but then to also not be so hard on itself when it doesn't show up in a certain way is really important. And then also the element of compassion, self-compassion, self-love comes into play with both of these energies, but a lot of the time it's mostly needed because we're practicing. We're not forcing any sort of outcomes, and that's the goal, right? Is the detachment from the physical outcome. How do we trust our energy and our life force essence of being and beauty and our gifts without having to attach or be validated by our physical reality before we actually allow ourselves to love it and appreciate ourselves for who we are and the energy that we're connected to. So it's a practice, and like I said, the people that I seem to be attracting the most in my work and like my mentorship is those that are waiting for the physical invitation before they trust the inner knowing, or before they can allow their feminine to trust the vision and their masculine to trust the implementation of that. And so I feel like I've really been working on that myself. I've really been honing in on that skill of how do you trust your feelings when the contrast of your physical life doesn't seem to match up, and what to do in those situations. How does the masculine move through that? Oh, this is a lot. This is a bigger topic than I thought we were going to get into. But I do have one more spot available in my free mentorship. It's a 6-week program or 6 week span of time with one-on-one calls and some, I guess, action work in between and journaling and stuff like that. It is free. All I ask is that at the end that you produce or provide me with a testimonial and a review. I have never done mentorship in this format before, which is why it's a pilot. But if you feel like it would be a good fit, or you're just in a position where you're wanting to receive more insight, more one-on-one work energetically, and how to match that with your physical reality, then please check out the link below to apply. It's a form. It just makes sure, allows me to make sure that we're a good fit for each other, that I'm able to offer what you're actually needing. But yeah, so totally free in terms of money, just in exchange for some testimonial and review at the end. It is 6 weeks, so please keep that in mind. But I'll send you all the details once the form is complete, and if it's a good fit, then I send all that over to you. But yeah, so I have one more spot. I have a limited amount. I'm only doing this with 3 people, so yeah, and if you've already sent in your form and I sent you an email and you haven't responded yet, please note that that spot is not guaranteed. So if you have received an email from me and haven't gotten the chance to respond or book your first call, then please make sure to do that so that you can reserve your spot. And yeah, let's see what the cards have to say. I feel like that was a really long intro. That was a lot of information. I think like the biggest one that comes up often, and I went through something very similar, is like when and how do you invest in a business in order to receive money? Because I do feel like the feminine has a vision, right, for a life that we want, has a vision for what we want that to feel like, what we want that to look like. And the masculine, it sometimes overly focuses on the money aspect and doing out of the need for security rather than doing in devotion to the vision. And I think that is also a very pivotal realization when we're taking action, because one is acting from fear and one is acting in love. And it's about trusting the energy of life being able to meet you. And that's such a huge surrender. I know that word's overly used, but it is a position where you're in a sense of like when you're acting in devotion with the vision and the insight and like the downloads or the knowing that God, source, universe has placed into you, and you're acting upon that, then you're always going to be right where you need to be, even though you might experience contrast. But when you're experiencing contrast between your inner world and your outer world, your masculine can take the role of rectifying that with boundaries, with discernment, with pulling back energy from things that no longer actually align with those feelings. And that's how that equilibrium or that balance comes into play. And it's a forever thing, it's ongoing. But that's the whole lesson, is where are we actually going to put our energy that's in alignment with how we feel or what we know to be true for us, rather than putting our energy into things that we believe or will validate those things. Okay, I'm going to pull some cards. We'll see what the energy comes up with. I'm just going to do overall energy today. I think the masculine and the feminine are really important, but I do believe, like I said in my last video, I believe that those energies are working very closely together, whether it feels like it or not. They really are. At least I know I'm experiencing that. So if you're watching this, you're probably experiencing that too, because they aren't ever separate. And I just feel like right now, energetically, they really are working in tandem and coming into some sort and balancing each other out. So I'm going to pull overall energy, but I do believe those are still really potent. Ooh, this is pretty much exactly what I was just saying. There's the element, like 4 of Cups, element of like, is this like 4th cup even going to arrive? Because I feel so much, right? Like cups are about feeling, they're about sometimes the unseen energetics or the feelings that we have energetically within ourselves. and we're not sure if the feeling is ever going to line up with the physical reality. But that's where this Seven of Pentacles comes in. Like, you can see this is like a masculine presenting person that's just allowing the seeds to grow, that's uncertain of how really all these seeds were going to turn out, but there's an element of trust so that that Ten of Pentacles can provide that stability. So it's a balance, right? Between, okay, like I feel this so strongly and I know that my masculine is going to act in accordance with that. And that's the trust that's being built currently. I will preface though, it's not about the masculine forcing or controlling outcomes. And I think that's the biggest thing, is the masculine doesn't work to keep somebody around just because the vision has them in it. The masculine says, okay, well, we're going to choose this energy that we want to be in. And if they join us in it, then we'll align. But it's not about abandoning the self. The masculine is not going to abandon self or the feminine in order to try and control the outcome of having someone around. Because that's what she wants or that's what she sees. The masculine discerns in the sense of like, okay, well, you're telling me this is the energy we want to experience, so I'm acting in accordance with that. If that means that we need to pull back our energy from that person, invest in other relationships or other connections physically to allow ourselves to actually align to that energy, then we'll know if that person is meant for us. We'll know, because then they'll resurface in the energy that we're actually aligned to with that vision. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's a bit of a more specific example, but I think it really plays into the understanding of how discernment can play out when it comes to business or when it comes to money. It's the same. The thing is that there's no attachment to the outcome, right? There's no attachment to controlling what it will look like. It's about trusting when your inner feminine's vision, but also your masculine's actions, to be able to align with the energy of those things and then trust that life is going to meet you where it's meant to meet you. And the things that are meant for you are going to find you. But if you abandon yourself in the desire to be in fear of losing something, then you'll never know how life is going to meet you in the energetic state of where you're meant to be, or of that vision, or of that insight. Oh, that's a lot of information. Please let me know in the comments if this resonates or if it's helpful. It just seems to like be really coming out. I think it's really important though, because I personally have been really feeling this energy. And so if you have too, I'd love to know. So it surrounds a lot around self-abandonment, self-doubt, not enoughness, trusting the visions, insights, knowings, intuitive understandings. And when I say visions, I mean like, I'm talking like a lot of people have a vision, right, for how they want their future to be. So that's what I mean by that. Or want to be, or is meant to be. Okay, let's pull 2 more. If you feel like 9 of Wands, 2 of Wands. There's a lot of Wands, and then the last one was 4 of Wands. It's this energy of like, even in the moments where you feel like you're waiting, you might not actually just be waiting. That's how it's coming through, but I want to make that more clear for you, so give me a sec. Okay, so we started with the 9 of Wands and clarified by 3 of Pentacles. That tells me that is the energy of investing our energy where we want it to go and what's actually going to be fulfilling, what is actually going to long-term align us to where we want to be. The 2 of Wands is coming up as an energy of like When you're so solid in what you know is meant for you, and you're also paying attention to the energy of the inner feminine, what you're able to create, what you're able to feel, and you hold that vision, right? Like I said earlier, if the feminine is unable to trust herself enough to hold that vision, hold that energy, hold that frequency, or be honest about how she feels, then the masculine isn't able to build around that. So if the feminine is saying, oh, I'm fine, when she's actually really sad, the masculine is going to pull away. Like our inner masculine, right? Because he's like, I don't know how to move in this dissonance, in this like incongruent energy, because you're telling me you're okay, everything's fine, but I know that you aren't. And I don't know what energy to build from because this isn't in alignment with truth and with where we're going. And so this 2 of Wands is telling me, like, when you can get solid in that, it might feel like a bit of a void, a bit of a waiting game, but the wait isn't about the energy of things coming back, or like I said in that one example of relationships, like it's not about things coming back. It's not about waiting for things to work out because you know how they're meant to work out. It's about continuously choosing yourself so that you can see what is going to meet you in that energy. And life might not happen quickly. You might not get those reflections as quickly as you may be comfortable with. And so just recognizing that that stability, right? That stability of that energy is what's going to create this recognition. I also talked about it like earlier in the video. I was talking about how the contrast of life can be shifted and can be realigned when the masculine is open and trusting of itself to be able to move when it's meant to move and pull back when it's meant to pull back and discern the energies. Like, I think the most common thing that we do is the feminine has a vision and the masculine thinks, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this vision. When the vision isn't about overdoing, overgiving. And so the frequency of the masculine's actions are not in alignment with the frequency of the vision. And so the masculine has to learn energetically how to attune to that energy and act from that place, rather than seeking the external validation of what he's able to build or provide or create. He becomes like life becomes the relationship, right, with our inner masculine. And it's an element of when we can build that inner trust within ourselves with the masculine and feminine, then we're only working in devotion to ourselves and to the God source universe, if that's where your belief is. And then everything will always show itself when it's meant. Yeah, that's a deeper conversation, but I think I'll leave it here for now. And maybe I'll pull a couple more cards. What messages do we have for those who are watching? Okay, I got Judgment, 4 Pentacles, and Strength. I'm getting this message of treat your energy as valuable as you know it is. And how I'm seeing it is like, you don't need to overinvest in order to receive. You invest yourself and you value yourself and you put yourself out there, and your innate value is the magnetism. The innateness of your essence is the magnetism. It's not about, oh, if I give more, I'm going to receive more. It's about, I'm going to give where I know and discern I'm meant to produce or provide or create. And then I'm going to sit in that energy of trust in myself, just knowing that it's all going to be what it's meant to be, without the expectation of return. Because when you're giving for something in return, you're not valuing yourself fully. you're saying I'm only valuable because I'm producing, I'm only valuable because I'm giving, and that's a different vibration than giving from discernment of the inner masculine. So I will leave you with that. That is a lot of information. If you have questions or you have comments, leave them down below because I feel like we can expand on this topic very greatly. Oh, Ace of Pentacles on the bottom. And yeah, but please let me know your thoughts. Please leave a thumbs up and a subscribe. Again, if you feel like you would be interested in doing the 6-week mentorship with me, I'll leave the form link below. All you have to do is fill it out and then I'll be in contact with you over email. Yeah, what an exciting time. I'm really excited for all of you. I'm sending you so much love and I will talk to you soon.